or lose to use during the NBA playoffs. You can bet how many three-pointers will be made in the Celtics game, maybe the under in the Lakers game. How about who will score the first basket? How about much more, like what team wins it all? It's all right there on an app that's super easy to use, safe and secure, and you get paid fast. Just go to FanDuel.com/Petro to get started. That's FanDuel.com/Petro and get started. $150 in bonus bets, win or lose, if you place a $5 bet. Get it right now at FanDuel.com/Petro. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
21 plus from President, Kansas. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit CasGamblingHelp.com.
So, you're spending today thinking about tomorrow and maybe a new or expanded home for your family. That's good. But buying, building, or improving a home takes know-how, and that's where my friends at First Federal Bank of Kansas City can help. At First Federal, helping you know and showing you how to succeed throughout the mortgage process is what they do best. Visit them at ffbkc.com or call 816-241-7800 and check them out on Facebook. First Federal Bank of Kansas City, better together. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey Kansas City, are you looking for a place to stay on your staycation getaway? There's a space to play at the Inn at Meadowbrook. Enjoy the outdoor pool and hot tub overlooking the Meadowbrook Lake and Park. Go ride on the complimentary cruiser bikes and end the day by the fire pit after a full day of exploring Kansas City. So if you're looking
10 seconds.
at 95th and Knoll in the heart of Overland Park, feel free to call 913-329-9000 or make your reservation online at inatmeadowbrook.com.
America's largest all-sports radio station presents the #1 motorsports show for over 2 decades. Track by Rod & Supply and the Power Ride.
We lost you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Todd Surprise running the show back there at Sports Radio 810. And Todd Surprise running the show here at RBN, the Racing Boys Broadcasting Network. And I think we're live on there. I think we are live.
I think so.
I think we are.
We lost the audio coming back from the studio there for a minute,
Yep.
but we're up and going. So good morning, everybody.
How's it going, Todd? How's it going with you, bud?
Not too bad. Had a late night with baseball. Drove back from Topeka very late last night, and sent Kirk a little audio for the show this morning when I got home and got to bed. So we're starting off the show. It got a little chilly last night for people at the racetracks and baseball parks out there. So bundle up for tonight. Going to be another chilly one.
It's going to be a chilly night out at I-70 Speedway.
I'm going to be out there. I'm going to take my heavier coat out there tonight and just bundle up and enjoy the races. I looked at the forecast at I-70 tonight, and the low temperatures are going to be in the mid-40s to upper 50s out there. So
it's going to be chilly.
Take your heavier jacket out there. It's
Right.
all good, man. We'll get out there and enjoy the non-wing races at I-70 tonight.
Can't wait for that. NWRA and WAR out there both running tonight.
It's the Rod End Supply Open Wheel Classic. So, yeah, we're going to see the non-wing cars and the 305 wing sprint cars out on the big, massive I-70 Speedway. It's going to be a fast racetrack.
Kirk, are you a little excited to see non-wing sprint cars race out at I-70 Speedway?
Yeah, I remember about a year ago we saw the non-wing cars out there. I think Wyatt Burks won that race a year ago. We'll see what happens tonight. Last night they did run at the Electric City Speedway in Butler. Corey Schutte on his way to victory and had a flat tire on the last lap, which allowed Braden Cromwell to come through with the win. 20 MWRA sprint cars at Butler last night. They'll combine that with the POWRi WAR non-wing sprint cars. Expect more than 20 cars tonight because of the co-sanctioned event. So I'm thinking maybe 30 to 40 cars tonight.
Yep, no doubt.
I think they're going to have pretty good turnout for the
they're gonna
non-wing sprints.
I think they're going to have a pretty good turnout tonight, car count-wise.
Yeah.
considering that WAR and NWRA are going to combine their two races, and they're going to have a lot of cars out there tonight.
Yeah,
Don't you think?
Yeah, it's going to be a good show, and on that racetrack, it's going to get exciting. I think with non-wing sprint cars. Think we might see some sliders.
We might see a few of them,
Yeah.
but that track is so fast.
It's hard to do a slide job.
It's hard to get a slide job done out there.
Speaking of slide jobs,
Right.
Paducah International Speedway last night produced some slide jobs, one of which turned the point leader upside down. Buddy Kofoid, by the way, Sheldon Hodgeshed led the whole way last night at Paducah. But probably the big moment of the night is when Buddy Kofoid tried to pull a double slide job on David Gravel and Bill Baylog, and it just didn't quite work out. It turned out okay for Buddy, not so good for David Gravel. And he got upside down, and when he crawled out of the race car, he walked all the way across the racetrack toward the 83 car.
He wasn't too happy, was he?
David Gravel, none too happy. And
he chewed him out a little bit when he got over to his car.
He did.
He chewed him out a little bit.
Yeah, the officials just says, David said, I'm just going to say a couple of words here. We're not going to get physical or anything. It just, with his helmet on, he stuck his head in the cockpit there and gave Buddy chewing out, which is not the first one in the last week that David Gravel has had with Buddy Kofoid, because last week at Peevely, the two also had a run-in that nearly put David Gravel into the wall and upside down, but somehow Gravel was able to keep it straight at Peevely.
What did you think of the move that David Gravel and him and Buddy Kofoid got together? What did you think about that? Did you see anything that was more challenging than anything else? Were they beat and banged? Did you see that?
At Peevely you're talking about?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That one, yeah, Buddy took blame for that event, but last night he was not going to take any responsibility for any wrongdoing at all.
Right, yeah.
Buddy said, "Yeah, I'm sorry for what happened last week. I got into
they were three
I got
wide.
into David and I did him wrong, but last night I'm not apologizing for anything."
Hey, Kirk, they were three wide coming down the front straightaway, and anytime three sprint cars are three wide, there's going to be a little problem. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, and it turned out to be a big problem for David Gravel.
Donnie Schatz now is currently 16 points behind David Gravel. What do you think about that?
Well, it tightened up because it was 40-some points going into
48 points going into last night, yeah.
And Donnie Schatz coming off that win last week at Peevely, a racetrack that he hadn't won at in, 9 years? I think puts Donnie Schatz squarely into the title hunt. And we question that because, we've seen Donnie Schatz do well on the big half-mile racetracks, not so much on the short tracks. I think Donnie changed that perception last week with that win at Peevely. But after last night and David Gravel finishing 23rd because he wasn't able to get that car repaired, they had to replace the tail tank. That was going to take a long time. Of course, these front ends on these cars, that don't take much time at all.
Right.
It was replacing that tail tank that was going to be the big problem. So Gravel not able to finish, and he ends up in 23rd place. But Donnie Schatz looked like he was going to not have a good finish at all. He was well outside the top 10, started 12th, but he ended up 7th last night, which, considering where he started, I think Schatz has got to be fairly pleased with where he ended up.
Kirk, were you a little surprised that Rico didn't do any better than he did last night? He ended up running 6th last night.
Now we're talking about another race, the high limit race down at Southern Oklahoma Speedway.
Right. Were you a little
I'm
setback by that?
surprised. I'm surprised all the way around about how Rico is running. I think we all expect him to run a whole lot better. I'll get in, but let's finish up with the race
Outlaws.
at Paducah last night. Bill Baylog. Scott, you brought his name up last week.
Right.
And he had another great finish last night. Ended up second place. He almost got taken out by that slider that Buddy Kofoid tried to move. But another great finish by Bill Baylog. Second place run behind winner Sheldon Hodenshield.
I think Bill Baylog is going to win a race this year. What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
he's got enough speed in that car.
He's got enough speed in that car.
Mm-hmm.
Carson Macedo, I thought, had a fast race car last night. He qualified number 1 in time trials, but he had a problem in the dash last night. He got into it with Sheldon Hodenshield in the dash and got crossed up and had to make repairs on that race car before the A main. But he was still able to get started on the outside of the third row. They only had 6 cars in the dash, so Carson Macedo started outside
do you think
the third row, but pretty scary situation for Carson Macedo out of the dash. They had to make repairs on that car before the A main.
Kirk, do you think that Spencer Baston was the fastest car on the racetrack last night?
No.
No?
I think Sheldon had the fast car.
I think Brad Sweet had the fastest car because he stretched it out on him quite a bit.
Now we're talking about a different race. Which race are we talking about now? The World of Outlaws at Southern Oklahoma
I'm
or the High
talking about
Limit?
Brad Sweet.
Okay, let's talk about that race now.
Right.
That Sheldon Hodenshield, I thought, was the fastest car at Paducah.
I hadn't changed the subject, Kirk.
Let's change the subject on...
I was just talking about Brad Sweet beating Tyler Courtney, Spencer Baston, Brent Marks, Corey Day. Corey Day had a good run last night.
That's the high limit race.
Right.
That's the other big profile race. The high limit, we're at Southern Oklahoma Speedway in Ardmore, Oklahoma, and Brad Sweet finally wins an A main. So that's now we're going to talk about that race. Brad Sweet, didn't he have the fast car last night?
I think he did.
But you think Spencer Baston did?
Well, I looked at Spencer Baston, and his car seemed like it was a little bit faster than Tyler Courtney, than Brad Sweet, but he just didn't have enough drive to get off the corners.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He ended up in third place behind Sunshine. Brad Sweet started third in the race and jumped out and pretty much set pace the rest of the way to win. But a lot of exciting action, not just in the A main, Scott, but the heat races were full of action last night as well down at Southern Oklahoma, where they had 24 race cars. By the way, the car count, 24 at Southern Oklahoma for the high limit, 29 for the World of Outlaws at Paducah.
High Limit Series is going to go to Salina tonight, right?
The High Banks.
The High
You're
Banks.
familiar with that racetrack?
Yeah, I've been down there a few times.
That's a high-speed racetrack,
Let me
too.
tell you, when it comes to Salina High Banks, there's not a better racetrack. When it is slicked off from top to bottom, there's not a better racetrack to run slide jobs, to be honest with you. Slide jobs are king at Salina High Banks.
Which is going to make very interesting to see who's going to be bold enough to make it happen. If I had to guess on that particular racetrack, I would think Rico would rise up and maybe have his best finish of the year. He ended up last night still
Sixth.
not to Rico's standards, what we were used to seeing him last year. But at some point, you got to figure that Rico's going to get it sorted out. And tonight may be the night at a track, a style of track that he normally does pretty well at. I would expect Rico to maybe step up and have his best finish of the year tonight. What do you think?
I think Buddy Kofoid's going to have a good night tonight, to be honest with you.
That's very possible.
Yep.
Yeah. He's been a factor.
Buddy's going to be a little charged up after last night when David Gravel come over there and chewed in his ear.
Yeah, what kind of an impact do you think that'll end up having on Buddy Kofoid? Because
I think that all that is going to do is motivate Buddy Kofoid more, and I think he's going to be elbows up tonight, and I think he's going to win tonight at where are they racing at?
Salina High Banks.
Salina High Banks.
The other guy that we haven't talked about yet that has already won 2 features since we were last here on a Saturday morning is Corey Day. He won Sunday night's race at RPM Speedway and then backed that up with a win on Tuesday night at Red Dirt Raceway. Corey Day won 2 races here within the last week.
Were you a little surprised that Corey Day ended up running 5th last night? He started 8th. He ended up running 5th. But I think at one point he had the fastest car on the racetrack. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't know. I still think Sweet and Baston had faster, and Brent Marks passed Corey Day towards the end of that race.
Right.
And Brent Marks had a fast race car. So I don't think at any point in that race Corey Day was faster than Marks, Baston.
He mixed it
Courtney,
up.
Sweet.
He mixed it up with a bunch of drivers, though, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk about Tuesday night at Red Dirt Raceway and
Right.
last Sunday at RPM, Corey Day definitely the fastest race car.
No doubt.
Especially on Tuesday night at Red Dirt, where Corey Day came from 7th to win the race in very impressive fashion. We were both impressed when we were here on Monday for the Mostly Motorsport show about what Corey Day did on Sunday night at RPM Speedway, but he kept that going Tuesday night at Red Dirt. But, you know, the thing about Corey Day is how well's he going to do on the big half-mile racetracks? That's what we're going to see. Before we say that he's going to be a championship contender, he's got to be able to produce wins on all sizes of racetracks. He does well on the bull rings, the tracks he was used to running on out in California.
Right.
But how well's he going to do on the big tracks? I think that's still an open question with Corey Day before you start putting him into the class of Brad Sweet winning the high limit championship.
Kirk, we got to bring up Seth Bergman picks up the win in Wayne Johnson's car last night with the ASCS National Tour.
First ASCS National Tour event of the season down at Super B Speedway in Chatham, Louisiana last night. Wayne Johnson was hurt in a crash at Texas Motor Speedway during the high limit run last weekend, so fortunately nothing broken for Wayne, but he's got to sit out of that car for a while, so he calls Seth Bergman to step in the seat of the 2C car.
I think
for
that's
last night.
That's a great call to call
Yeah.
Seth Bergman. Seth Bergman is one of the better 360 sprint car racers in the country. Would you agree with that,
Oh,
Kurt?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you watched him out there for years on the ASCS
Yeah.
tour. Doesn't he have his own race car? He doesn't race full time anymore. He's got the coffee business, and he's a family man, spends a lot of time at home, but
Takes care of that coffee business. He's got 4 different coffee franchises right now.
so he's not able to race as much as he wants to, but he can certainly get it done behind the wheel of a sprint car. And, it's smart for Wayne Johnson to call Seth. Those guys are good buddies, so I'm sure that was very hard for Wayne Johnson to not be in his own race car watching his car go around the racetrack, but Seth Bergman stepped in and took the 2C to victory lane last night down in Chatham, Louisiana. Boy, they spent a lot of time working that racetrack down there. I know they got a lot of rain down in Louisiana over the last few weeks, and the track really wasn't ideal. Let's just put it that way at the beginning of the races. So they to credit the track crew, they came out and really worked it, made for a late night last night, but they got the show in. And I'm not sure what the weather's going to do tonight down at Chatham, Louisiana. It's a little bit iffy at this point, but they were able to get the cars on the racetrack even though it was late last night.
Seth Bergman beat Andrew Deal, Brady Barker, and Jason Martin, and Brandon Anderson for the top 5. Those were the top 5 cars, by the way.
Sam Haferteep, he was down there last night as well.
Yep.
So what do you think? This is the first race under the World Racing Group after the sale from Emmett Honda, the World Racing Group here a few weeks back.
I'm pretty excited about what's going on with the World Racing Group and ASCS National Sprint Car Tour. Are you excited about that, Kurt?
The only thing is that some of the local racetracks that we're used to seeing the ASCS,
right,
like here in Kansas City, we saw them out here at Lakeside Speedway for a number of years, and some other racetracks.
They're not going to be
really
racing out
see
there.
them right within driving distance as
Right.
much this year. So kind of sad about that. But good to hear Randy Ward as the announcer on there last night.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Randy Ward is one of the best announcers in the business. Would you
He
agree
is.
with that?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Good to watch that action last night at Louisiana on Dirt Vision.
All right. Well, we can't thank you enough for tuning in. Here in a moment, we're going to play Donnie Schatz, an interview that we did with him on Mostly Motorsports on Monday. And this is about a 10-minute, 20-second interview that we're going to do with him. And I think we might play the second half of that interview in hour number 2. Maybe we'll do that in hour number 2, Todd?
Yeah, most definitely. We got it was a very long interview we did with Donnie. Donnie's always gracious with all of his time when he joins us on the show. So I went ahead and cut this thing. If you'd like to hear the full uncut interview, go to wherever you get Mostly Motorsports on your podcast.
Right.
And you can go to the homepage and find it there. But yeah, it was a really good interview. And like you said, we got a part 1, part 2. That way we can, they call it in the business, a tease to get you to stick around to hour number 2 so you can hear the wrap-up of the Donnie Schatz.
And we've got Connor Wade and Chase Rodman as well. And
Ryan
also Ryan Priest, NASCAR driver.
Kirk did a great interview with Ryan Priest.
Right, yeah.
So.
Driving for Stuart Haas Racing, 41 car.
Did you see it? Did I switch the cameras good enough, Todd?
Yeah, it was good.
All right.
It was perfect. Everything looked good.
Yeah, we'll hear from Ryan Priest. Or Talladega this weekend. The weather looks
Looked a little iffy, isn't
looks
it?
like they're going to have to dodge some rain clouds at Talladega this weekend. But also they had the late models at the Talladega Short Track right across the street. We'll talk about that also during the show.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's Track Talk, and it's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the Power Eye Midwest Lightning Sprints. We'll be back with more in a moment. Donnie Schatz up next, right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Track Talk. Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
Hey Kansas City, it's Brian Pringle here with Victory Ford in KCK. Are you ready for a hail of a sale? Well, get ready because Victory Ford at the Legends in KCK is bringing you unbeatable deals. That's right, folks. We're talking new crew cab 4x4 F-150s starting at just $39,988. And that's not all. We're slashing prices on every vehicle with our Hail Savings event, saving you thousands of dollars. Looking for a new Super Duty? How about discounts up to $10,000? Or even a new Maverick, discounts up to $5,000. Folks, at these prices, these vehicles won't last long. Visit VictoryFordKC.com to browse our vast selection of new and pre-owned vehicles, all discounted by thousands of dollars due to hail damage. Yes, you heard that right. Hail damage equals big savings. So why wait? Head over to Victory Ford today, where our first price is better than their last. Don't miss out on these incredible deals only at Victory Ford in KCK. Victory Ford, where savings reign supreme. Hurry in today.
The big screen is still the best way to enjoy the magic of the movies. At B&B Theaters, they've got the best big screens to enjoy the movies. B&B is family-owned and operated and has been bringing Hollywood to your hometown since 1924, nearly a whole century, and they're headquartered out of the Kansas City Northland. Visit B&B this month for great movies like Monkey Man, Civil War, Arcadian, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, and more. Visit bbtheaters.com to join their Backstage Pass loyalty program, which is totally free to join. B&B Theaters, the way movies are meant to be seen. The Kansas City Symphony Mobile Music Box performs a free community concert along the beautiful Missouri riverbanks in Parkville on April 24th at 6. Enjoy the spectacular music of the Kansas City Symphony with the beautiful English Landing Park in the background. The event is free and welcomes all ages. Bring your lawn chairs and picnic baskets and enjoy a night of music in one of the best parks in the Northland. Produced in cooperation with Visit Missouri.
Hey, this is Nate Bucati from Window Nation. You might hear similar offers from competing window companies, so why would you choose Window Nation over the rest? I'm here to tell you why. Window Nation is all about paying attention to the details. They measure their windows 3 times to ensure proper fit. They have a 96% customer satisfaction rating, so they get the job done right the first time. They're experienced. Each installer has an average of over 10 years of experience. You can have the best windows in the world, but if they're not installed properly, it will do you no good. Window Nation uses top-of-the-line materials to ensure that your windows are installed perfectly the first time, and they back them up with a lifetime warranty. To go along with all these reasons, there's also an amazing deal. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and there's no limit. Plus, 0 interest or payments for 24 months. You can't afford to wait. Go with the experts. It's easy. Call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
Welcome to Creekmore Golf Course, one of the nicest upscale golf courses in Kansas City, nestled among rolling hills with meticulously maintained fairways.
2 minutes, gentlemen.
And after your round is done, unwind in their clubhouse where delicious food and refreshing drinks await. Creekmore Golf Club in Raymore, Missouri, south of KC off I-49 and 58 Highway, 20 minutes away from most anywhere in the city. The Golf Club at Creekmore, your only short drive of the day? We'll be getting there. Jazz, a Louisiana kitchen. Let the good times roll. The best Cajun cuisine outside the Big Easy. Now, there may be some construction going on by our State Line location, but the parking garage behind Jazz on State Line is open for customer parking. As always, Jazz has great daily specials. Tuesday, half-off chicken a la mer, and Thursday is our half-shell raw oyster.
10 seconds.
3 until 6, along with daily lunch specials Monday through Friday from 11 until 3. Jazz, the original location on State Line, or the Legends in Village West.
Welcome back. It's Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. Kirk, we had a chance to talk with Donnie Schatz this week.
We did, and that's off a big win Saturday night at the I-55 Federated Auto Parts Speedway in Peebly, Missouri, and that's a big win for Donnie because
that's a short track.
It's a short track.
Yeah.
And, you know, they've been sorting out all the issues with the Ford engine, trying to get it to work on all different kinds of racetracks.
I think that says a lot about his team when they gear up on a little bitty racetrack like I-55, Peebly, Missouri. I think that gives them a lot of enthusiasm about the rest of the year. What do you think, Chris?
Oh, yeah, there's no question about that. And, you know, the big issue, could Donnie Schatz contend for his 11th World of Outlaws championship? And I think he answered that question the other night by how well he ran at a track like I-55 Speedway. And we spoke with Donnie Schatz after his win on Monday's Mostly Motorsports show, and here's a little bit of that conversation.
You spanked him in that lap traffic the other night, man. I'm just telling you, you absolutely annihilated him in that lap traffic.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. I guess we try to do the same thing every day, and you know, Peebly's not one of our better places. Obviously, when you're 9 years in between wins, and I've won there 3 times in my career, that's kind of on the embarrassing part of things. But you know, it was a fun race. You know. I remember being asked afterwards when I passed Bill Balog for the lead, and I really don't. You just get racing, and you're not worried about who it is or where they're at. You're just kind of going wherever you see a hole or an opening or an opportunity, or you think you can get your race car through, and you're not sure what's not lap traffic and lap traffic. So it was actually a pretty intense race from my point of view, and it had some pretty consistent laps, and it was a great finish for us and got us a win at Peebley's, which is really huge right now for the team.
It seems like Bill Baylog is really on top of his game right now. Do you think so?
There's a lot of guys on top of their game. Bill's been running well. There's a lot of young guys that are. So, it's a great time in sprint car racing. There's a lot of youth and prosperity, and obviously the future is going to be pretty bright. And the things that happen, like Bill's out here racing and doing a great job, and he's going to get, he's obviously won an outlaw race before, but he's going to put himself in a position to win another one here very soon. So, pretty cool to see.
Hey, Donnie, congratulations on the win the other night. At a preseason press conference, you made note of a test session right after the World Finals at Charlotte. The evolution of this Ford program, just how important was that to win a race on this type of racetrack at Peebley to get the consistency you've been looking for out of this Ford program?
Well, the short tracks is where we've had trouble. There's a point where the motors can run so well that you get yourself in trouble, and that's where we've kind of had ourselves in trouble on short track stuff. So we've kind of focused on that and put a lot of emphasis on it. They make a lot of power, but sometimes we really don't need all that power. We need drivability, and it was really great to see that Saturday night at Peebley. The guys have worked exceptionally hard to try to do that. And, when you go with everybody else's stuff that's out there that's, been around for 100 years, there's, 400 cars across the country that have the same manufacturer, and they feed off each other. When there's very few of the Fords around, it's hard to gain that much knowledge and get that much ahead, when there's not as many of them and you don't have as much feedback and info to go off of. So it's pretty rewarding when you can get yourself in a position on a place like Peebley where, we haven't really been as grand as we need to be, and we got ourselves in a great spot on Saturday. So it feels good to have that scenario going on at the moment.
Hey, listen, I just got to say this. I've been saying it all year that I'm pulling for you to win the championship this year and pick up your 11th championship. You're 48 points back right now. Do you feel like that you have the momentum to win the championship this year?
We don't have the momentum yet. We don't have the consistency yet to say that we're in a position to win a championship. But weekends like this where we excelled at a place that we don't normally excel at, and we can build on consistency. You can't have things like last weekend. We got to Oklahoma and ran 11th and just couldn't seem to make nothing happen. And sometimes it's circumstances with the way the track is and this and that. But you got to be a little bit more consistent. All I can say is right now we haven't dug ourselves a huge hole. We're in a spot where, it's within reaching distance. And if we get to where we're ultra consistent and continuously winning races, well, yeah, you're going to be in a fight for a championship when it comes down to the end of the year. So I'm pretty happy about that. It's the best position we've been in the championship standings in quite some time. So that feels, pretty grand. But to say that I'm pretty confident that we're going to be fighting it to the end, man, that's pretty hard to say. There's a lot of teams that have had that consistency. The two cars, been pretty consistent and doing a great job. And we got to be a little bit better, but we're working on that. And I have all the confidence in the world that if my guys keep on the path they're on, that we're going to be in that position. But I don't want to count chickens till the eggs hatch, and
Right.
That's something we try to never do.
You've got 12 top 10s in 13 races. I think that's pretty consistent to me personally. I think that's pretty good. How do you feel about that?
It is consistent. It's consistently top 10s, but you got to turn them top 10s into top 5s, and you got to turn top 5s into podiums and top 3s. So, it's kind of goes back to the old adage: you got to crawl before you can walk, and you got to walk before you can run. And so you're right. It's it's great to have the top 10s, but man, in order to win races, you can't look at top 10s. You got to look at top 3s. That's when you're when you're racing in the top 3 and top 5 every night. That's what turns into continuously winning races. So we're well aware of that, as we've had our fair share of championships, and that's how we did it before. So I don't know that it's changed, but we're going to do our best to get back there.
We saw you up here in person up at US 36 Raceway here a week ago on a short track, and you passed some cars there late, got yourself up into a podium. What did you learn from that night, and also an 8th place finish on Friday night at Peebly to help you on Saturday night?
You know, Cameron at US 36 was a great race for us. It's another place that we haven't had the best finishes, and you know, it was another race in traffic where I feel like that's kind of what put us there. And that's, you know, when you're in traffic, it's you got to figure out what you can do to your car to manipulate and get through in a spot here and there, and because the pace slows down and guys got to move around and get out of their comfort zone. And you know, I kind of feel like that's where maybe experience comes into play a little bit in traffic. But you know, it was a great finish for us. You know, we tried to go into Peebly that same way, and you know, obviously Friday at Peebly we got ourselves qualified well, but you know, started 7th in the dash, and I think we ended up 8th in the feature. We just couldn't seem to make things happen. The racetrack was a little bit different. It was kind of lower on the racetrack than it normally is, and it was a little bit choppy and rough, and there wasn't really anybody doing anything super spectacular. You know, the 2-car won, and he was started up there and had a great pace, but it was I don't know that we really ever got a fair shake at what happened until Saturday. So, you know, it's every night you do something, you got to learn from it. And that's definitely what my guys did Friday. We tried to come back and do the same thing, and it just didn't work qualifying. We dug a hole qualifying, and we dug out of the hole in the heat race and got ourselves in that dash. And, you know, sometimes you got to be a little bit lucky, and we got a good pill draw, and got ourselves in starting in them first 2 rows is really important. And capitalized on it from there. But guys made all the right adjustments, you know, threw everything they knew at it, and everything just worked out just right for Saturday.
You know, you talk about how competitive this series is now. I mean, there's a lot of great competitors out there you got to deal with on a night-in, night-in basis. Talk about just how much more important qualifying is to set you up for the entire night. How much more important has that become over the years?
You know, it has. You know, I can't say it's something that I've always put an emphasis on as qualifying. You know, we used to have formats where they'd invert 4 into heat, take a heat winner and a quickest qualifier. And, you know, it all depends on who wants what and if someone complains. And I get you know, you want to be rewarded for qualifying and not going slow, but it's gotten to where, you know, it really is, you know, it's ultimately the most important thing, because you're not going to pass a bunch of cars in heat races on a lot of tracks, on a majority of tracks. You know, obviously that wasn't the case at Peebly on Saturday. We started 5th and ran 2nd. You know, but that doesn't happen at the Knoxville Raceways and in some of the other places. So, you know, you just have to, you know, that's what we got to deal with. And sometimes, you know, maybe we just don't put enough emphasis on qualifying. And there's times that, you know, qualifying guys that get qualified and start up front and then they go backwards. So it has its, you know, it has its risks and rewards, and that's just the nature of the beast. You gotta be able to be consistent in everything that's there, because that's what the format that's in front of you. And we do our best, but we got a little bit of work to do there. You know, we've done everything we can to try to detune to keep the tires caught up, and sometimes that probably puts us in a little bit of a predicament qualifying. But ultimately, you got to be able to pass cars, no matter where you start, and you got to be able to maneuver around the racetrack. And so that's really the first focus. We can always throw things at it to qualify to get them to go harder and faster, and you know, that seems to be what costs the most money is qualifying for everyone. So we'll just keep focusing on racing, and hopefully we can put ourselves in a good spot to capitalize on all of it.
All right, there you have it. Donnie Schatz, after he picked up his big win at Peebly I-55 Speedway just outside of St. Louis. That was a big win for him. And not only a big win for him last night, but after David Gravel got into problems last night, now Donnie Schatz is 16 points out of the lead, and he's only 16 points behind David Gravel. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and last night Schatz started 12th, ends up 7th, so yeah.
They didn't even work on Gravel's car, because it was
No.
too trashed out.
Well, they had the repairs that they were going to have to make on Gravel's car last night were just going to be too much with the, what you're allowed to do during
Right.
the red flag period. Changing a tail tank on a sprint car, that takes more time than you've got allowed on a red flag. So
They didn't have enough time to get that car repaired to get it back out on the
They were going to have
racetrack.
to change the front end, which that you can do that in a couple of minutes.
Right.
The front end is not that
We've
big a
seen
deal.
that. We've seen that done. Last night. In fact, one of the cars. I'm not familiar which one it was, but one of the cars changed out a front axle in the pits. Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You can do it quick. So Donnie
What
Schatz.
car was that, Kurt? Do you know?
I watched too many races last night. I forgot. But yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. The front ends is not a problem. I mean, you can change that. In a matter of
Ryan Timms
a minute.
didn't have a really good night, did he?
Yeah, and he
spun
looked
out
like
a
he had a
couple
fast
times.
race car
Yeah.
earlier in the night.
Mhm.
So, yeah, Ryan not so strong last night. So, but that's the way it is in sprint car racing.
Yeah.
You have your good times and your bad times. But Donnie Schatz and the rest of the World of Outlaws will be headed towards Tri-State Speedway in Hobstadt, Indiana tonight.
Right.
And you knew who won there last year?
Who won there?
Brady Bacon.
Brady Bacon.
And he was with the Outlaws last night.
Right.
and
Driving the
I'm sure he's
21H
headed there.
car.
Yeah.
Right.
Driving the 21 car. So we'll see what happens there tonight. And as we pointed out a little bit earlier, the High Limit Series is at the Salina High Banks. So we'll see what happens down there. Scott, there was a big late model event last night down at Talladega Short Track. This is right across the street from the big Talladega Super Speedway. And it was the World of Outlaw late models. And rain, it looked like the whole thing was going to get rained out last night, but somehow they got it in, even though the second part of that doubleheader last night was shortened by rain. And the winner of the two features last night were Dylan Knowles and Max McLaughlin, who, for you big block modified fans, Max McLaughlin is one of the top drivers on that circuit. So he hadn't been in a late model all that much. But last night, in the second half of that doubleheader last night, Max McLaughlin came through with the feature victory. They're going to try to get that race in tonight, Scott. It doesn't look very good weather-wise
Right.
down there. We'll see what happens. But
Did you see where Ricky Stenhouse Jr. won the 360 sprint car feature?
He did.
Yeah.
And Kyle Larson was there last night driving a late model. And so, if the weather cooperates tonight, Kyle will be back there behind the wheel of the number 6 late model tonight. He wasn't challenging for anything up front last night.
Only 17 cars with the 360 sprint cars last
Yeah.
night.
Not a lot.
Yeah, not a lot.
So anyway, as I said, Kyle Larson was there. He finished 6th in the second feature event. Mike Marlar, I thought he was going to have a fast race car in that first race. Something happened to him. I'm not sure, but he ended up 16th. So
Yeah.
we'll see if they get that show in tonight down at Talladega.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, more of Track Talk. It's all brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the Power Eye Midwest Lightning Sprints. Connor Wade is going to join us next right here on Track Talk, and we'll be back with him in a moment. Stay tuned right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and you're listening to Racing Boys, and if you ain't listening to them, you get out of the country because you're a communist. I love the Racing Boys. Like Mater says, they make me happier than a tornado in a trailer park. Get her done!
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, Rod
All right, gentlemen, we kind of got a short break on this one. We're looking at 2 minutes after this finishes. We got 2 minutes.
Okay, 10-4.
of Sports Radio 810, WeatherTech Renovations. You know, there's always madness in March, especially the weather. And then April showers bring May flowers. But heavy rain also causes leaks in roofs.
Yeah, give me a minute to do math.
10-4.
Today, one quick call and one free inspection can protect your home or business. I promise. WeatherTech Renovations has great customer satisfaction, ratings, and reviews. They have a full-service department and have top-rated installers for your home or place of business. Call WeatherTech Renovations today, 816-988-8957, or check them out online at WTRenovations.com. That's 816-98.
You're going to have about 12 minutes left.
All right, 10-4.
The exit time is going to be about 56:30.
Okay, very good.
Start your spring adventure with a new Kia from Robert Brogdon's Olathe Kia. From the versatility of the 2024 Sorrento and Telluride to the tech-savvy Seltos and EV9, you'll find a ride for the road ahead. For a limited time, get thousands off MSRP on select models or financing as low as 0.9%. Plus, with a 30-day money-back guarantee, you'll drive with confidence. Open during construction at I-35 in Santa Fe or shop online at OlatheKia.com. Your journey begins at Brogdon. Must finance with KMF. See dealer for details.
Where's your Hawaiian?
30 seconds.
What's up? Why?
Well, it was your idea to wear them today. To lighten the mood around the office?
That was before I won the island getaway from the Kansas Lottery. Now, I'm much more relaxed.
Good for you.
Hawaiian Shirt Day just got real with the $15,000 island getaway experience from the Kansas Lottery. Spa days, golf, luau's, and more await in the Play On app.
Aloha!
See KSLottery.com for details.
Welcome back to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Don't forget hour number 2 coming up, and you can watch it on our Facebook, YouTube, and RacingBoys.com as well. So, Kirk, we had a chance to talk to Connor Wade the other day.
Connor is the pit reporter for Dirt Vision's coverage of the World of Outlaws. We'll see him in action tonight out at Tri-State Speedway in Hobstadt, and next weekend at Knoxville. 2 nights for the World of Outlaws. By the way, tonight, no races at Knoxville. Season opener called off due to cold weather, even though they had a practice there last night. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. But here's a portion of the weekly interview we had with Connor Wade from earlier this week on Mostly Motorsports.
This was a big weekend for David Gravel and Donnie Schatz. Listen, I think there's a lot to be said about the Ford motor making the power that it needs to make on the short tracks like at Peevely Speedway. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no question about it. I think, the fact that Donnie was able to go out and, kind of put together an old school Donnie Schatz ass whipping like we haven't seen in kind of a long time was pretty cool and definitely a big step forward, for the Ford. I think they finally got it how they want it just this year. And, Donnie is, you look at kind of his average finish and, the dashes he's making and the couple wins. He's pretty on par with where he was back in, 2019 and prior whenever he was winning championships. So,
right.
Donnie Schatz is looking pretty good right now. Like you said, the Ford is running really well, and it was cool to see Donnie get back to victory lane on Saturday. I think he's he's got to be a favorite for the championship, in my opinion. A lot of people are giving it to David this early, but Donnie's right there, if you ask me. In my opinion, there's really not a clear-cut favorite between the two right now.
Anybody who says that Donnie Schatz has lost it, those comments are greatly misplaced. You look at the struggles they've had with this Ford engine program, and then you see him go out and still run up front at Knoxville every year. He's as good a driver as he's ever been. That's my opinion. I think he can 100%. Still win races as much as he ever has.
Yeah, I think he can still win the championship. don't forget this guy won the Kings Royal last year. He won Knoxville 2 years ago with the Ford. He ran third at Knoxville last year, and could have easily won it. He contended sort of with Larson there for a little bit. Donnie's still there, and like I said, he's going to be a contender for the championship all year. You know, I think I don't remember exactly what the margin is right now, 48 points, I think, but he's going to be there right with David or whoever's leading the points all year long, and he's at 2 wins already through 13 races, I guess. He's going to get a lot more the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, his driving talent that doesn't seem diminished to me, unlike what a lot of people say, and I just have to throw that out there. I've watched him enough that he can he can still wheel a race car. Let's talk about an incident on Saturday night. Buddy Kofoid made a move on David Gravel there towards the end of that race, run David up into the wall a little bit. In the post-race interview, Buddy was apologetic about that. He didn't really want to race David that way, but David probably wasn't too happy with Buddy Kofoid at the end of that race, was he not?
No, David definitely wasn't happy. I know there were some, just some typical jawing and words exchanged back in the pit area after the race between the crews and stuff, but it wasn't anything too major. It was one of those heat-of-the-moment type deals, Buddy threw a slider that obviously was not clear, and, he admitted that, and definitely, we've watched Buddy Kofoid in midgets and sprint cars for a while. We know he's not going to intentionally wreck somebody. He's really never shown that. Everybody makes moves now and again that don't work and that aren't clear, and you learn from it, you regret it. So I thought David did a good job saving it. I saw a video this morning on Fiedler's video that he put out, and David's car, the nose wing is facing the wall, so and he's in the fluff too, so I don't know how he saved it.
You guys got about
he
5
did a
minutes
good job
left.
doing so, and they definitely weren't happy with each other, but it's part of it. You live and you learn and you move on, and by the time they get to Paducah on Friday, they probably won't even remember it.
That was a big moment because it sure looked like Gravel was going to get himself upside down on that deal. How he saved that car, I'm with you. Like that was miraculous that he saved that race car.
Yeah, I agree. And with Donnie being second in points and getting the win, it was obviously pretty important for David to make that save. If he didn't, then Donnie would be a lot closer in points, if not the point leader. I don't know exactly where Gravel would have ended up if he wrecked or something there and didn't finish. But, definitely a crucial moment in that race for sure. And if David, were to hang on to the championship by a thin margin at the end of the year, you definitely could look back on that. And, just like you can any night, you can look back at US 36 last year and say maybe if David doesn't DNF that race, maybe he wins the title or at least has a better chance towards the end. The small moments like that are what really can determine whether you win a championship or not. So, but no, Peebley's a tough place to make a save like that. I think whenever you watch that race on that track on TV, you don't really even notice how fast they're going. They are hauling it around that place. It's one of the fastest tracks for that size that you'll find anywhere. So, good save by David for sure. And still a solid weekend as Top 5 Street continues, held on to the points lead. And cool to see Buddy walk out of the weekend with 2 podiums as well. I think he's got a trip to victory lane coming soon.
All right, there you have it. That's Connor Wade. He's the pit reporter for the World of Outlaws, and he does a great job as well, by the way.
And that interview from Monday, and we were talking about David Gravel versus Buddy Kofoid.
Yep.
And it carried over to last night.
It did.
Another thing I forgot to mention a little bit earlier, Buddy Kofoid's post-race interview last night, that he was not apologetic at all what happened last night, but he was last Saturday.
He felt like Gravel was trying to run over him, didn't he?
Yeah, he the reason he was not apologetic last night is because the way David was racing him, and of course that's a carryover from what happened last week.
Right, yeah, no doubt.
The guys had words in the pit area, and last night when Buddy threw that big bomb that also almost collected Bill Balog in it.
Mm-hmm.
We saw David Gravel walk all the way across the racetrack, and you knew right where he was headed, right to that 83 car. So, but last night was far more costly to David Gravel than last Saturday night at Peebly. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because Gravel got upside down, he ended up 23rd.
Right.
So, you know, as Brad Sweet demonstrated the last several years winning the championship of the World of Outlaws, I think Sweet maybe averaged one DNF the whole season. You can't have many DNFs if you want to win this championship.
You got to average around top 5 material. Brad Sweet has done that with the World of Outlaws for the last several years.
Yeah.
Just averages around the top 5. You got to be in the top 5 to win the championship.
And even though Brad Sweet in the High Limit Series has not, he just won his first race last night.
Right.
He had consistently finished in
You
the
guys got
top
about
5.
60
Even though he was
seconds.
not the points leader, he just keeps posting those top 5
Pinful.
finishes, and that's how you win these titles.
Yep.
Once again, tonight, no races at Knoxville because of cold weather. So next Friday and Saturday night, the World of Outlaws will be up there. And so that's going to be a big way to open up the 2023 or 2024 campaign at the Knoxville Raceway. So,
yep.
Who's going to win Talladega this weekend? Can you predict?
You know,
big race tomorrow.
I'm not much into Cup racing. I'm more into sprint car racing right now in my lifetime. But I think that
Kick the music.
What is the kid that's driving the 4-car?
Josh Berry.
Josh Berry. Josh Berry's going to win tonight.
Really? You
Yeah.
think he's going to stand the Stuart Haas and Josh Berry on a big track like Talladega?
Yeah, I think he's going to do
That's going out on a limb.
it.
Yeah. Chase Elliott winning his first race in a long time last week. I think it was a big moment.
Right.
And Chase Elliott's already got a couple of wins at Talladega. I think he just might do it again.
Don't forget hour number 2 exclusively on Facebook page, YouTube, and racingboys.com. You can watch the entire show on those channels as well. For Todd Surprise, for Kirk Elliott, I'm Scott Traylor saying we hope that you'll join us hour number 2 right here on RBN, the Racing Boys Broadcasting Network.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior.
It was a little rough, but we got through it.
Yeah, we got through it. Everything's good, brother. I appreciate it.
All righty. See you next week.
All right, have a good week.
Rod End Supply is involved with a variety of motorsports as well as industrial applications with many different types of products. Since 1989, Rod End Supply has provided superior products priced competitively. Whether you're racing at the circle track or drag strip, rock climbing, or going off-road, Rod End Supply has an assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products to keep your equipment moving. Rod End Supply's experienced staff is ready and willing to help you with your needs. Their promise is to continue to provide a superior product with superior service so you can stay in front of the field no matter what it is. To learn more, go to rodendsupply.com.
manufacturer, especially sportswear, in-house. We do all of the screen printing, all the embroidery. We do some vinyl. The other ad specialty items like your pens, magnets, notepads, calendars. You can actually buy that, build your business to make it larger. We have the largest screen printing process and the largest embroidery anywhere around in the area. We can do stuff all the way from your school clubs to sports teams, a professional look in the office. If you can imagine it, we can do it for you.
From the circle track to the drag strip to off-road racing, Rod End Supply has been keeping their customers at the front of the field since 1989. Whether you need rod ends, tubular rods, or specialty products, Bob Douglas and his Rod End Supply staff are always ready to help you with your needs. You can visit them on the web at rodendsupply.com or call them at 800-284-2902. That's 800-284-2902. Rod End Supply, keeping you at the front of the field.
When Steve died, the outpouring of love was amazing. These dollars had come together to support us, and we realized, no, we didn't want to use them for us. We wanted to use them to help others.
The foundation has done so much for so many people. It helps any family that has somebody, whether it be a crew member or one of the drivers, that get hurt. We can help them to get through the situation.
I was injured in a non-wing sprint car accident that broke my neck and left me with a spinal cord injury. I was in the hospital 8 months, and that got really, really expensive, so having that extra help to help push me and my family forward was a big deal.
Yes, Steve's death is the reason the foundation exists, but it's Steve's life, and it's the lives of racers everywhere, is the reason we're able to do the work we do.
Signs attract half of all new customers. A vehicle wrap can get 30,000 views per day. On-site signage costs roughly 2 cents per view. At Impact Signs, Awnings, Wraps, we know signs work. Custom signs, interior or exterior, for any application. Commercial awnings, any shape, any size. Full-color video displays, time and temp boards, gas price changers, and scoreboards. We can wrap anything: vehicles, trailers, boats, and more. Check us out at impact4800.com.
Race fans, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is open 7 days a week, year-round, for you to come in and check out all of the wonderful race cars on display in the museum. And our online store at sprintcarstuff.com is open 24 hours a day for you to check out everything that we have in stock for sprint car fans. Whether it's for a birthday, anniversary, or Christmas, sprintcarstuff.com has it all. That's at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville.
Go harder, faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.
Custom signs, interior, commercial awnings, any shape, any size. Full color video displays, time and temp boards, gas price changers, and scoreboards. We can wrap anything: vehicles, trailers, boats, and more. Check us out at impact4800.com.
Race fans, the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is open 7 days a week, year-round, for you to come in and check out all of the wonderful race cars on display in the museum. And our online store at sprintcarstuff.com is open 24 hours a day for you to check out everything that we have in stock for sprint car fans. Whether it's for a birthday, anniversary, or Christmas, sprintcarstuff.com has it all. That's at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum in Knoxville.
Go harder, faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.
Hey everybody, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and you are listening to RacingBoys.com, and if you're not, I swear to you, get in your truck or do something, but get the hell out of this country, because you don't belong in it if you don't listen to these fellas. Get her done!
It's time for America's most unique motorsports show, Track Talk, brought to you by Rod End Supply and the Power Ride Midwest Lightning Sprints. Here are the racing boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Welcome back to RBN, the Racing Boys Broadcasting Network. Todd Surprise running the show here as he normally does. Kirk Elliott, my partner for the last 24 years.
Tonight we're looking forward to the Rod End Supply Open Wheel Classic, I-70 Speedway, and I love it. They returned to the name I-70 Speedway. You got to like that, right, Scott?
I do like it a lot.
You know, they called it I-70 Motorsports Park, and, you know, we all had trouble getting used to that, but now we see they branded it I-70 Speedway.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be. So we're looking forward to heading out there tonight, seeing the first dirt track action. We were out there last weekend for the grand opening of the drag races at Flying H Drag Strip.
You and I were both out there.
But different days. I was out there on Friday. You were there on
Saturday.
Sunday.
Yeah.
So we checked that out, and tonight it's the opener of the dirt track at I-70 Speedway. So non-wing sprint cars, co-sanctioned by the POWRi War and USAC Midwest Wingless Racing Association tonight. Hot laps get underway at 6. We had a question about that. When did hot laps start? 6 o'clock. And the 305 POWRi wing sprint cars will also be on the card tonight.
You know what I like about starting at 6 o'clock? They're going to get over early.
Well, you hope so.
There's no reason to make the fans freeze out there,
especially
all
on
night.
a cold night.
On a cold night,
yeah. Let's get it on.
Get it done. Get it done.
Let's get it going.
Get it done.
So should be a good show out there tonight. Non-wing sprint cars on that kind of a racetrack.
305 sprint cars as well.
Yeah. So it's going to be a great show out there tonight. Looking forward to that. Last night, the Midwest Wingless Sprint Association was at the Electric City Speedway in Butler, Missouri.
How'd that go?
And, well, not so good for Corey Schutte because he had the lead on the last lap until a tire went down. So Corey Schutte not feeling too good about that, but who did benefit from that? Braden Cromwell, who started 4th and wins the feature over Wyatt Burks, Dakota Earls finishing 3rd, Zachary Clark, and Taylor Walton rounds out the top 5. Corey Schutte ends up 6th, which is still pretty good. He had tire go down.
Yeah.
Still ended up in 6th place, but
it
he would have rather had the win.
It looks like Wyatt Burks is putting himself in position to win the championship again this year.
Yeah, he won the title last year.
He ran second last night at Electric City Speedway.
So 20 cars down at Butler last night, but they'll have more than that because the co-sanction with the
Right.
PowerEye
Yeah.
war. So we'll see how things go tonight. And as we mentioned just right before the top of the hour, they were supposed to have the opening night at Knoxville tonight. Too cold up there. I don't blame them. At Knoxville's what, 3.5 hours north of here?
Kurt.
So if it's in the upper 40s here in Kansas City, it's got to be in the 30s at Knoxville tonight,
Right.
which is considerably colder. So I don't blame him for postponing the opener.
Do you think
next
it's too
weekend.
cold to run out at I-70 tonight?
I would say so if it was down into the 30s, but I see the forecast is going to be upper 40s, lower 50s. No, I don't think that's
You're
too
going to be
cold.
fine until
If they were in the 30s,
till
I
about
would say
10
yes.
o'clock.
I would say after 10 o'clock, you're going to be, we were at a baseball
Going to
game.
be freezing after 10 o'clock.
Well, 36 degrees, but it's. I think you're
Right.
probably going to be fine all the way up until mid. They're calling for a low overnight of 36. So that's usually around 1 a.m. is when that.
Let's
starts,
hope
but-
we're not there till 1
Yeah,
a.m.
that's what I'm saying. So I
But
think
there's and I know Casey Schumann will
He'll
speed
run a
the
tight
show along. But if you start the hot laps 6 o'clock and you just keep the program moving along, we can get out of there by no later than 9 o'clock, couldn't we? If everything goes smooth.
I would say 9 o'clock's a little too early, Kirk, to be honest with you.
Too early?
I think that 10 o'clock is about the time that they'll get it over with.
I think you'll probably have. I think he's probably going to want to have.
I'm
going to
wear my big jacket tonight.
Yeah, you guys need. Well, I'm telling you that
And
heated
your hoodie.
That heated jacket that I had.
And a hoodie.
That heated jacket is the bomb. You guys need to invest in one of those for next year. I'm just telling you. You only use it maybe 4 times a year.
Right.
Because there's only certain times you go.
Where
out
did you buy that at, Todd?
On Amazon.
Amazon.
And they're awesome, and they've got better ones now than.
Send me the link to that.
I will.
would
Let
you?
me tell you. And the cool thing about this, like I said, I'm not advertising for this, but the cool thing about this jacket, it's got this giant battery pack, and it's about the size of our hard drives that we carry around. And you charge that bad boy up, and it'll run your coat, right? But it'll also, you can, if your phone's dead, it's got a USB port right on it. It'll plug right in, and you
plug
can,
your phone
you
into
charge
it.
anything. I mean, it's just a battery thing, and the coat. It's built into the coat, so you can take the battery off and charge it anywhere, but there's a little port that hooks up into your jacket.
Right.
But let me tell you, you push the little button on the lapel, it's got this little button you push right here. It's got 3 settings, and it's got heaters right here along your lungs, and one across your back, and one down the middle of your back, and
it keeps you warm.
You put that coat on and a coat over it, all of a sudden you're like, I'm not cold no more. And it's the weirdest thing because it just warms your extremity, your heart up, and it gets that blood really warm. And man, it's a thin jacket, but guys, they've got some really cool ones. And I guess,
Kirk, we're going to have to invest in one of those.
Literally, it's one of those coats that I only wear maybe 4 or 5 times a year. I wear them at Zach's baseball games, and it's like it's spring and fall. These are the 2 times I pull this bad boy out, and every time I do it, I'm so glad I had it. It's an amazing.
You need to send Kirk and I the link to that.
Like
well, let's hope that this weekend is the last cold weather
Absolutely.
we have.
I think that's what they're saying right now. This is it. So
it seems like we had better weather in February than we have in April.
yeah, the wind has just been ferocious, and we got a lot of rain, a couple inches of rain, 2 days in a row there. And did you guys get any hail out here? We got a lot of hail out in Piper the other night. That's what woke me up during that big thunderstorm. We had a lot of hail, and I just went outside just now. It's sunny and bright, but boy, it's a little nippy out there. So if you're out there working this morning or listening to the Racing Boys on your social media pages,
I'll
it's
tell
a
you
little
where it's
chilly.
even worse than here. Is Pennsylvania and Ohio.
I saw that,
Last night they were
Pennsylvania.
supposed to have races at Williams Grove Speedway, no go, and also Attica got rained out last night. So if you're out in Pennsylvania and Ohio, we're complaining about the cold weather, but at least it's not raining right now. So not so good for those folks out in that part of the world. If you're not able to be at I-70 Speedway tonight, it is streamed live on Start to Finish TV, and you'll see Scott Traylor on the broadcast tonight. You're going to be doing the interviews, right?
Yep, I'll be doing the interviews.
standing down there in the infield?
I will be doing those interviews.
You've got a lot of history in the infield at I-70 Speedway.
I've got a little bit of history
You've
there.
been there before.
I've done a little TV out there before, haven't I? Probably a couple fights.
Probably
down
a few
there
fights
as well.
in the infield.
Yeah.
So those grounds at I-70 Speedway, you got a lot of history.
What are you talking about, Kirk?
Well, you were a racer out there. You raced on the old paved track out there. I remember the days you did the pre-race show in your fire suit. You'd go do hot laps, and then you'd come up and do the pre-race radio show.
What I would do is I would change in during the commercial break. I would change into my fire suit, and then I'd run down for the second set of hot lap session.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Then you'd come back up and be on the air again.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
So people don't remember those days, Kirk.
You don't need a map to know how to get to I-70 Speedway.
I see somebody said
You know your way there.
I know my way there. Exit 41.
I see CMS is opening tonight too, huh?
They are. Opening night, Central
30th
Missouri
year.
Speedway.
30 years is what it said with old Earl.
Also, last night they did have races at Lakeside Speedway.
They
And
did have races out there last night?
Yes, they did.
Shadron Turner
That kid is just
was the winner of the B-Mod class, and some of our old standbys in the A-Mod class now with B-Mods.
yeah. They just swapped that
As
engine. out and-
Tim Carrick finishes second, Stephen Clancy third, and Kerry Davis finishing in fourth place. They had 21 USRA B-Mods at Lakeside last night. Other winners were Jalen Weddingle in the USRA stock cars, Jay Russell in Race Saver sprint cars. Didn't have too many cars there, only had 10 cars in that class. Eddie Knoll in the pure stock
about that?
division.
Little Eddie
and
Knoll.
E-Mods Jason Park. All the winners at Lakeside Speedway.
I think that was a little.
I've known Ed Knoll since
no,
he
this
was.
is his kid.
This is his kid.
Yes, this is the kid, not
Eddie Knoll.
Eddie Knoll.
Yes, this is the kid's first win. I followed him on Facebook last night. and
I've
watched
known
him.
his dad since he was 9 years old.
Go to his Facebook
Just
page,
so
and,
you know.
and he was a smiling proud. Mom and Dad were last night with their son's first win out there at Lakeside Speedway. So congratulations!
Hey, isn't it kind of funny not to see A-Mods out at
I
Lakeside?
just call them modifieds now. Like we talked about that interview we did with Lloyd back when I played
Well,
that.
they just weren't drawing enough cars out there to sustain it.
Modified. Just call it a modified class. You know what? Anybody new won't even know the difference. Like if you bring in, this is our modified.
Just call them modifieds.
They're mods. They're
That's
mods.
it.
That's what I would do.
I agree with that.
I mean, there's no sense in
Just call it modified.
Yeah, I mean, in the fine print, you could put a B.
They had 21 cars last night.
21.
Yep. If you get between 21 and 30
USRA
cars,
B-Mods.
I think you'll be fine with modified racing out there.
Yeah.
And are they going to be? We talked about this. They're going to run a few open wheels along with this sprint. This out there.
They're going to run 305s out there this year.
So I don't know when that first race is for the 305 race, but
Jay Russell.
They ran last night.
They ran
was
last
it?
night.
So it was
they,
last night.
They run the Race Saver sprint cars, and those are 305 sprint cars as well. And Jay Russell picked up the win last night, didn't he?
That's it.
Well, that's
Jay
good.
Russell is a heck of a sprint car driver.
Yeah,
just so you know.
He had a 360 car for a number
I
of
used to
years.
race against his dad, Cheryl Russell, back in the day.
So, it's the first year they've got the 305 sprints at Lakeside Speedway. I'm going to cut them some slack, to build up the car
Yeah,
count.
it's going to
You
take
gotta
a little
stick
while
with
to
it.
build
We'll
up.
see what happens.
Yeah, no, you got to. It'll take more.
I think what Ralph Palmer's doing out there is he's taking that thing in the right direction. He got rid of the A-Mods. He's bringing in 305 sprint cars. I think sprint cars is going to what do you think, Kirk? Do you think the 305 sprint cars are going to draw some people out there?
Well, we'll see. I don't think they're running them every week.
No, they're gonna. It'll be split up, and what I think they're hoping on.
They only had 10 last night.
Yeah, but I think eventually they'll probably have a good 15. If we could get 15 cars out there, because we talked about before, once A-Mods dropped under 15, it was kind of hard to watch, right?
Right.
15 and above, you don't have to run a heat race. Just give me that race in there and run me a good race, and it's good. I don't mind.
Do you
that.
think that will drive people to to buy a 305 and race out there at Lakeside Speedway? Do
I
you think that'll drive them a little bit over there? If somebody like an Austin O'Neill, to be honest with
guys that ran this 360 ASCS race that kind of got out of that 360 racing, right, are wanting to still do something. I honestly think this Race Saver 305 out there, that it's a pretty good program. If they could get a few more cars that are, that are going to step up and make that a regular thing, it could be a regular racing series out there, or maybe every other week, which would be great.
I always thought the lightning sprints was the way to go for
I did
economics.
Too. Most definitely.
What Bob Douglas has got going on.
To be honest with you, Kirk, I think that track's a little
too big.
A little too big for those lightning sprints.
Well, they're wound up when they had them out there that one.
Yeah.
I agree. I always worry a little bit when you see
because, man, when those cars start flipping, they
it's
flip.
Scary.
Yeah, it's a scary deal.
When they're wound up like that, it's pretty scary.
USMTS Modifieds back in action last night at Arrowhead Speedway in Colcord, Oklahoma. Jim Chisholm wins the A main last night, 40-lap A feature over Terry Phillips, Jake O'Neill, Dan Ebert, and Tyler Wolf rounding out the top 5. Last weekend at Humboldt Speedway, the Heartland Modified Tour, Darren Fuqua came through with the feature event down at Humboldt Speedway. But another night down at Arrowhead Speedway tonight for the USMTS. You can watch that on racindirt.com. So big night for Jim Chisholm last night. The MLRA late models was supposed to be in action in Iowa at Cedar County Raceway, in Tipton, Iowa on Thursday, and 34 Raceway last night. Tonight, all that's been wiped out, postponed, canceled due to cold weather. They'll be back in action again next weekend at Callaway Raceway on April 26th, and a week from Saturday night at Lake Ozark Speedway for the MLRA late models. Last weekend, Jonathan Davenport wins $20,000 at Lucas Oil Speedway.
$27,000, Kirk.
Both nights, yeah, for 2 nights. Yeah,
he won $7,000 the first night, $20,000 the second night,
$20,000 on Saturday night, and he led all 100 laps of feature racing action both Friday and Saturday night down at Lucas Oil Speedway, a track he's obviously got figured out, and he's got to be feeling pretty good about the Show Me 100 coming up here in about a month. So Jonathan Davenport, the big winner, and the one thing I got to say about last Saturday night, what a tribute to our good friend Lloyd Collins that they had at Lucas Oil Speedway last week. We saw Lloyd's golf cart, and Rochelle and Shane and Michelle were all there, and the golf cart, and watching the missing man formation for the feature event. The video that they had up on the board was incredible for Lloyd. So great tribute for Lloyd and
the missing man formation as well. I thought that was really touching as well.
Anyway, I just had to mention that. I wasn't there, but the Flow Racing did a good job carrying all that.
Do you want to do the live read for the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum right now, Kurt?
Not prepared right now, but we'll get to it here in just a little bit.
We could do that Schatz.
I'm not prepared right at this moment.
Let's do that Donnie Schatz interview. We'll finish up that interview because it's just about an 8-minute interview.
But we'll get to it.
All right, let's do that right now.
So part 2 of Donnie Schatz?
Yes, and Scott will probably need Kirk's the one who comes in on this part of the interview. So
all right, this is Donnie Schatz on Mostly Motorsports on Monday after his big win down at Pevely I-55 Speedway, and this is our conversation with Donnie Schatz.
You're going to be at Knoxville in a couple of weeks, but before you head back there, you go to Paducah and Hobstadt this weekend. Your thoughts about those 2 racetracks?
Yeah, it's great to be back to Paducah. We used to go there and have some great racing, but it's been since 2012, so it's a huge absence. And it's always good to go back to places that we haven't been before, or haven't been in a long time. Hopstad's another one of them tracks that, it's an incredible facility. They're great people, always a great following, just full tilt, lots of fans. But we never seem to have the best finishes there. It races a little bit different. It's real small and doesn't seem to be a place where you can have a whole lot of a control. You got to kind of be out of control, and that's not really my bag of tea some days. So, we had a little discussion this morning with the guys about what we're going to do, try for Hopstad here this weekend to see if we can get a win there. It's one of them few tracks that we haven't been able to win at. So we're going to go there and put the best effort forward to try to get a win. And if we do, you're going to see a lot of excited people. But, it's one of them places that's similar to Peevely or similar to US 36 where we've typically struggled. So, we've capitalized on it at Peevely and US 36, and maybe we'll cross our fingers to see if things can go right this weekend there. So we're looking forward to it.
After your win at Peevely, don't you feel a little more enthused about going into this next race and having a chance to win on the short track?
You can have the worst day in the world and you win a race, and it makes your week brighter, but you got to be a little bit realistic about it too. Sometimes you win races and maybe not the best car, or maybe it's circumstances you were in the right place at the right time. And, that really wasn't the case Saturday. I think that's what makes me feel the best about going into this weekend is we ended up, not being so great throughout the weekend, and we changed a bunch of things and just kept working on it. And we got things in a good spot where we were, a very dominant car on Saturday. So that's what it's got me excited about this weekend is, we can be not so good and the guys are making the right changes and the right decisions to be aggressive on trying to get us going the right way. So that should make a bright weekend, and we got a lot of ideas. So that's what makes it fun.
The car count's been pretty good there at Peevely. You had 37 and 41. That's a pretty good car count, don't you think?
There's been good car counts everywhere we've been. It's this time of year, it don't matter where you go. I think there's guys that want to get out and race no matter where they're from. Sometimes it depends on, where the traveling is. I think you've seen a good car count at US 36, and then the next night we lost a few guys just because maybe they didn't want to travel that 5 hours the opposite direction of where they were going. So, there's been very respectable car counts everywhere. It doesn't matter where it is, but that's, we've always had that in the spring and the fall when nothing else is racing. I think you'll see, that things change when the local tracks and the other local series start to run a little bit. It might affect the car counts a little bit, but, there's only so many cars to go around, and then there's a lot of series and there's a lot of racetracks, and there's a lot of things happening in racing. So you just got to do your best to try to make sure you put on the best show every night, and hopefully, the fans enjoy it and the racers enjoy it, and people watching at home on whether Dirt Vision or whatever streaming platform they do, because them things help the sport grow. It allows people to view them every night, and maybe that'll bring more people to the stands when we do get to a local track somewhere that's new or a place we haven't been.
You talked about your experience, over 30 years worth of experience. Talk about that a little bit and what that plays to your advantage as you as a driver. Well,
racing's a lot of a mind game, or not a mind game, but more of a mental status. If you're beaten, you are. When you get to the more experience you have, I think you're more confident in pretty much everything you do. You know what you're capable of. You know kind of how to do things the right way. And some days when things aren't quite right, you just know how to handle it without any thought process. And I think that's something where experience comes into play. You just react instead of overthink it or try to wonder what's happening sometimes. And, there's a lot of young guys that are doing a great job of figuring those things out. And I'd like to think some days that experience is something that helps you, but then there's a lot of days that maybe it's something that hinders you too. I guess you can look at it two ways, but it's a predicament that I'm in that, I've enjoyed and I'm happy about. I can't do much about it. I can't start over.
Right.
I got to where I got it the way I did, and that's what I got in front of me. I just get reminded a lot that, I'm not young anymore, and old and all these things. And I'm not old. I'm just seasoned.
Seasoned.
I'm not done yet. So
right. Seasoned is the best way to put it.
Hey, Donnie, at the beginning of the season, the World of Outlaws made a change in the wicker bill rule, going from a 2-inch to 1-inch. As a race fan, I don't notice anything. Do you notice anything different as a driver?
It's a really, really hard to say because we're not going to go any place where you're going to be able to run a 2-inch and then take it off and run a 1-inch. So the only way to really understand it is back to back it. But, it's something that I think they've probably done the right thing. And maybe there's people that don't agree with that, and that's the nice part of living in a free country is you can have two different opinions and they can be different, and you can beg to differ with people. But in my opinion, if we're trying to make racing better, the first thing we do is we try to unhook the cars, because if everybody's running around there wide open and if everything's stuck, then it's just kind of follow the leader, and it becomes a game of spending money on motors and who's got the best motor and who's all these things. And I think ultimately they're trying to make it to where, it's not all about having the best motor or the best car. It's trying to make it so that you got to move your foot and do different things in the race car. So, there's, like I said, there's guys that probably don't agree with that, but I've been around long enough to know that you're going to be less stuck with a 1-inch wicker bill than 2. And, I've heard the argument that the 2-inch wicker bill helps in dirty air, but I don't agree with that. And it's, like I said, it's just an opinion. So the nice part is we're all allowed to have them, and I have mine, and it might resonate right with some people and it might not with others, but that's what we really have. And we just have to deal with it until they make the next change.
Hey, when they made the change on the tire a year ago, how much of a factor was that?
It was big. They changed the construction of the left rears, and it makes the left rears a little bit floppy, and now in the right rears really stuck, and it kind of makes the left rears unhooked. So, that obviously worked if that was their goal. I think that's something that's important. Anytime you're going to change something, you have to say, okay, what is our goal with this? And if you don't do that, then just making a change makes a change without having an end result. So if you went the wrong way, you got to rectify it and go the other way. And I think that's something that it'd be nice to know, hey, this is our goal when they start to make something. Our goal is to do this, this, or this. And then this is what we're going to do. And then they have some dialogue with people, because everybody's going to have different opinions. There's guys that feel like their race car isn't going to work with a 1-inch wicker bill versus a 2, or, and everybody's kind of out for themselves. But ultimately the series and the racetracks have to do things that are beneficial to them, their longevity, and trying to do the right things by car owners and the fans and the drivers to make it so that the racing's great and the product's superior, and it's cost effective for everyone.
All right, there you have it. Donnie Schatz, that's the second half of that interview that we did with him on Monday on Mostly Motorsports. Don't forget, you can listen to Mostly Motorsports every Monday at 12 noon Central Time, and it goes to 2 o'clock. We're thinking about adjusting the time on that a little bit, aren't we?
Yeah, we're thinking about maybe doing is just not making it a full 2 hours every day. If we go 2 hours, that's fine. If we go an hour and have
certainly not short of things to talk about.
Yeah, once racing season gets kicked,
it's not like we have to fill out the time.
Yeah, no, like you said, we're just gonna make it. There's no set time, but like you said, we're definitely on the air every day at noon Central Time. That's not going to change.
Chris Yant said there was some good racing last night out at Lakeside Speedway.
Terrific.
Yeah.
So we'll be out there in a couple of weeks. The High Limit Series will be at Lakeside Speedway.
Along with the
High Limit Racing on Friday and Saturday, May 3rd and 4th. Big 2 nights of racing out there, so look forward to that. And we'll be out there several times this year. I know the Midwest Wingless Racing Association will be out there several times this year. We know that there's an MLRA show out there in August, and USMTS. There are 2 Grant Young Ann's Memorial races in August, one to make up for the one that got rained out last year. So a lot of big events at Lakeside Speedway.
I will be at
2024.
Callaway and Lucas Oil Speedway that weekend.
The weekend of the NASCAR.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
that's
going
what
to be out of town.
I
You'll
see.
be here Sunday for the Cup race, though,
Yeah,
right?
you'll be back on
I'll
Sunday.
be back by Sunday.
We'll be doing pre-race show for the Kansas Speedway on
Sunday,
Sunday,
May 5th.
May 5th.
Right.
So
How about that?
Big
May.
weekend.
May.
Big weekend.
May 5th.
Early May this year.
How about that? Could be cold.
Could be cold, but I'm thinking
I
we're
think
gonna,
it's gonna
I
warm
think
up
we're
by
going to be
then.
fine by May. Here's what
Yeah.
I'm really glad to see that we're not really kind of going up against anything else. I mean, that's always the good. There's nothing really, for it to go up against here locally, right? That weekend. So everybody,
Well, when you have it like the second or third weekend in May, you're up against graduations and all kinds of stuff going on. So
I'll
the fact
be-
that they moved it to the first weekend in May, that'll
Kirk,
be good.
Kirk, I'll be able to go up to Knoxville and watch that race, won't I?
Next weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take the motorhome up there.
Why don't you go up there on Friday and check in from up there, and I'll join you up there Saturday night. How about that?
I'm glad they're having it that week because Zach's.
Do you want me to do it from the National
not?
Sprint Car Hall of Fame
might
and
as
Museum?
well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe right in front of the Corvette.
Be opening week. As it turned out, it's going to be opening weekend of the season, and the World of Outlaws are going to be there. And I would expect a lot of high limit stars will be there as well, because there are no high
They're
limit
off that week.
racing up against the World of Outlaws next weekend.
that'll
So
be a-
I expect a few of the high limit stars to be there too.
I think Deidre's going to be working next weekend, so I'll be going up there by myself.
Go up there.
Take the RV up there.
I'll
We've got
put
a
the
camping spot up there.
I'll put the golf cart in the back of the truck.
There you go.
We got a camping spot all ready for you up there.
Right.
Set and ready to go.
The National Sprint Car
I'd like to
Hall
have
of
a
Fame-
camping spot out there at I-70 Speedway, to be honest with you.
You have a spot out there?
No, not yet. But I'd like to.
Well, get with Casey Schumann and see if you can get that worked out.
I will.
The National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is going to be the place to be. We thought maybe this weekend, tonight, but since the races have been called off tonight, how about next weekend? Make a visit to the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. It is open 7 days a week, by the way, so you can go in at any time. But they've got the torch red Corvette convertible in the window up there, and that's going to be given away in August of this year. It is a beautiful Corvette convertible, and a Z06 with the Z07 performance package, $25,000 to the grand prize winner. You can sign up for that today by going to winazo6corvette.com to get registered. They're going to draw for this 1 week after the Knoxville Nationals, August 17th. That's when they're going to draw for the Corvette. And we've also got another sweepstakes going on. It's for the Race Ready Sprint Car in December, 2 days before Christmas. They'll be drawing for this Triple X chassis with that Al Parker 410 racing engine. This is a Race Ready Sprint Car. Get signed up for that by going to ourwinasprintcar.com. And you have a chance of winning either a Race Ready Sprint Car or a Corvette convertible. And the Salute to Eldora Speedway will be opening up May 1st and be there till October 1st at the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. Check out all the great items in the gift shop, sprintcarstuff.com. Induction ceremony for the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame will be June 1st, and on that night, USAC non-wing sprint cars will be in action. So a lot of great things happening, and we're keeping our fingers crossed next weekend. The weather cooperates when the World of Outlaws come to town next Friday and Saturday, and plan your visit to the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame while you're up there.
All right. Kirk, you had a chance to talk to Ryan Preece this week.
We did. Ryan Preece is the driver of the Stewart-Haas Racing number 41 Ford Mustang. He will be in action at Talladega
Stewart-Haas
Speedway.
Racing.
They're going to be starting to qualify here right about now at Talladega, or practice and qualifying going on right now at Talladega. But earlier in the week, we visited with Ryan Preece, who's had his two best finishes in the last two races after a 12th place run at Texas Motor Speedway last Sunday and a top 10 finish at Martinsville, is feeling a lot better about the way things are going with the 41 car. And here's the conversation I had with Ryan Preece earlier this week. Joining us now is Ryan Preece, driver of the number 41 Ford Mustang for Stewart-Haas Racing. He'll be coming to Kansas Speedway here in a couple of weeks. Of course, getting ready for Talladega this weekend. Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, anytime. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, it looks like you've had your two best runs, two best finishes of the whole season here these last 2 weeks. A 9th place at Martinsville, 12th at Texas last week. You feel like you're getting a handle on things?
Well, I just think we're heading in the right direction. I feel like we made some positive changes and certainly, doing all the right things.
Talk about the most recent race at Texas last week. That race looked like everybody was on edge. How difficult was it getting around that racetrack?
Yeah, it was definitely not easy. I felt like we were pretty good, and we made some really good strategy calls that got us track position. So ultimately, it was a pretty decent day. I thought if that last caution didn't come out, probably would have wound up maybe 9th or 10th, but ultimately ended up 12th, and not a bad day for us.
As a driver, do you look at that as a big challenge to a really high-speed racetrack like that? What are your thoughts as a challenge to a driver being on edge like that for 400 miles?
It was Texas is probably one of those tracks that we are definitely on the edge more so than other speedway races, just because 3 and 4 is so different than 1 and 2. A lot of on throttle time, and you're just trying to get everything you can. So there's a lot of time to be made and a lot of time to be lost. So it was it was somewhere that we made a lot of good adjustments throughout the weekend, and ultimately did a decent job.
The next-gen car you've had for a couple of seasons now. What's been the biggest challenge getting used to this new race car?
For me, it's just been trying to find the balance. What's too tight, what's too loose, and what's going to get you the most speed. So I feel like we've been trending in the right direction and making good adjustments. So after having a year last year, kind of going through, trying to understand what's good, what's not, I feel like we've been starting to build a decent sized notebook of what adjustments we'd like to and what's our home.
Seems like all the Ford drivers have had a real difficulty trying to get a handle on things. Just as a group of Ford drivers, what's been the biggest issue you've had to get worked out?
Really, it's just been working on our notebook. I think that's been the biggest thing that's helped. So other than that, it's just, I feel really good. We're in a good place right now. We're heading in the right direction.
Your teammates, you got new teammates this year. Josh Berry driving the 4 car this year. Just kind of talk about the different drivers now that you're working with over there at SHR.
Yeah, I mean, we're all from different parts of the country, so we all have extremely different personalities, but we all have the same goal, and we all have a lot of similarities. So it's been nice to work with everybody, and certainly it's bringing in. I feel like it's going to help us all move forward.
9th place finish at Martinsville a couple of weeks ago. That's a racetrack you've got a lot of laps around. Just how comfortable is it to go to Martinsville Speedway and pull off a good top 10 finish there?
Yeah, no, I mean, for track position being such a difficult thing there, and somewhere that it's not easy to pass. I felt like starting 22nd or 24th, whatever it may have been, and getting to 9th was a good day for us. I felt like we had a pretty solid race car. Just unfortunately, track position was a pretty tough thing. So, it's a place that I was happy with our balance from beginning of the weekend to end of the weekend, and somewhere that, I hope we can continue building that notebook on, and when we go back in the fall, we can try and better that finish.
You had a lot of success in the modifieds. You were a former champion in the NASCAR Wayland Modified Tour. Just what did that experience bring to the table that helps you here at this level?
Well, I just think, anytime you can get in a race car, it's always good. And, I feel like just having that confidence and that winning attitude is always a helpful thing.
Talladega this weekend, just your thoughts. It's still hard to get out of my mind that terrible crash you had at Daytona last summer. Of course, you've been to Daytona since then, but just what did that experience teach you, that scary crash at Daytona last year?
It was easy to get out of my mind because I don't want to think about it much anymore. But certainly, when you go to super speedways, it's something that can happen. So, we had a pretty good run there last year in the fall race, and I'd like to build off that. But, I feel like we've been doing better as a team, holding each other to a higher standard and being prepared. So going into Talladega, I feel pretty confident that we can do all the right things and have ourselves a really good day.
What's the biggest difference between Talladega and Daytona?
Just when you feel like you have to make that move to win the race. At Daytona, it could be if nobody wrecks and you know there's not going to be a caution, it's doing it going into turn 3 or having the big run down the backstretch and into turn 3. Talladega, that's too early. It seems like you need to be able to make that run exiting a 4 or in through the tri-oval, because as soon as you get past the center of the tri-oval, there's a lot of distance left to that start-finish line.
A couple of weeks after Talladega, you're coming to Kansas Speedway. That's our home racetrack. What are your thoughts about Kansas Speedway?
Well, Kansas is a place that I've had some success at, and I've had some pretty decent runs. So it's another mile and a half that I hope we can continue to work off of some of the end of the race speed that we do, and unload really fast and have a good day.
A lot different mile and a half racetrack than Texas Motor Speedway. How so?
Just two completely different racetracks. Turns 3 and 4 at Texas is almost relatively easier, wide open. Where Kansas is, there's some lifting, there's tire wear, there's moving around. You're probably going to end up having to run up top. So that's definitely a real thing.
Another racetrack we're fairly close to, and certainly one you have fond memories of, is Iowa Speedway. Coming up there in the middle of June, you won your first Xfinity race at Iowa Speedway. Bet you're looking forward to going there.
Yeah, no, I'm. The last time I was there, I won. So certainly, it's a place that is special to me. And it'd be nice to go back there and have a really good day and try to contend for a win.
What do you remember most about winning that race up there that day?
To be honest with you, feeling a relief. That was probably one of the biggest things, but just proving that we could do it.
How big was that to your career, getting that win?
It was life-changing for sure. That was the day that pretty much changed my life.
Ryan, thanks so much for your time. Look forward to seeing you this weekend at Talladega and a couple of weeks at Kansas Speedway. Good luck this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And Ryan Preece, we remember when he got his first ever Xfinity Series win up there at Iowa Speedway in 2017. Not a lot of people really knew who he was at that time. And he stepped up there and won that race up there at Iowa Speedway. We'll never forget that. And probably wouldn't be where he's at today if that hadn't occurred. But he's a talented driver. Tony Stewart obviously likes his talent. And they made the decision to put him in one of the Stewart-Haas Racing Ford Mustangs. And, that crash he took down at Daytona last August, that was a pretty wild ride.
He got a couple black eyes out of that deal, didn't he?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, we're going to be probably talking with another NASCAR driver next weekend, as we're 2 weeks away from Kansas Speedway and the Advent Health 400. for the NASCAR Cup Series. It'll be 2 weeks from Sunday. So the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series also be in action that weekend. The ARCA Series, no Xfinity Series that weekend, but everything's condensed into 2 days out of Kansas Speedway, Saturday and Sunday out there. And, of course, the High Limit Series on Friday and Saturday night just up the road at Lakeside Speedway, where Kyle Larson will be in action at Lakeside while he's doing his Cup duties just down the road.
That should be a pretty good draw for the fans at Lakeside Speedway. A lot of people want to see Kyle Larson race.
Yeah,
right?
So should be a big crowd up there at Lakeside while the Cup Series is in action. Kyle Larson's in a late model this weekend at Talladega Short Track.
Yep. All right, we did an interview with the voice of the High Limit Series, Chase Rodman. We did an interview with him this week on Mostly Motorsports.
He said, "We've got them racked, we've got them stacked, and the grandstand's packed." That's Chase Rodman saying.
I know.
Have you heard that?
He says that every time.
Yeah.
But the grandstands aren't always packed.
Like at RPM Speedway last week. They were not
Those
quite
grandstands
packed.
were so little, I don't even know how they could justify by doing a race at that racetrack.
It's hard to do a race on a Sunday night anywhere in the middle of April.
Right.
You know, it's just, you get into the summertime. Houston Speedway, there's a reason why Houston Speedway starts up around Memorial Weekend or a little before, and they end up about Labor Day weekend racing on Sunday night. They're pretty successful racing on Sunday nights, but it's hard to do that outside the summer months. So Chase Rodman was here on Mostly Motorsports earlier this week, and here's a little bit of that weekly conference. It's been about 6 weeks since we heard from Chase Rodman because
Right.
High Limit Series had been down for a number of weeks, but he's back in action now.
Off the entire month of March.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but the High Limit Series is back in action full bore right now, and here's Chase Rodman from earlier this week on Mostly Motorsports.
Anthony Macri picks up the win at Texas Motor Speedway. Let's talk about that race a little bit.
Yeah, so obviously that track, that facility, very, very nice. Probably one of the nicest facilities in the country when it comes to dirt track racing. A paved pit area, huge grandstands that are really nice, and they were packed full of people. So, but yeah, I mean, we're going to be going back there later this year for that the championship weekend. And so I think they kind of have a good baseline of what they need to do for the racetrack. I thought that we're on track to have a good track over there at Texas Motor Speedway, and luckily we have some really good drivers to put on a show, whether that's a fast track, a slick track, or whatever it is. So Macri able to outduel Tyler Courtney, and then Jacob Allen was up in the mix as well too. So the fans there, they got to see a pretty good race for the lead, and it was cool just to it's pretty rare to have an opportunity to show people that have never seen a sprint car race, so many of them at one time, to try and show them what sprint car racing is all about.
Let me ask you this, Chase. I've raced down there many times with the ASCS National Sprint Car Tour, and that track from time to time takes a little bit of rubber. Did it take any rubber the other night?
No, so it did not. But the weekend before we went over there, they had that Power I-410 race, and Mike Hess was actually there. Sounded like he was actually race directing that Power I race, and so I heard they had some issues with the track that night, and then Mike was there, so he was kind of telling them, hey, you guys need to pick up the pace here, do a couple things different for when we show up next weekend. So they were dumping water all over it the entire day when we were there for Saturday, and even a little bit on Friday too. So the track I thought was shaping up really, 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 really good. And then unfortunately after the heat races, they went out there and kind of tilted up a little bit, and it just didn't blow off enough to be wide for the feature. But I think they took some notes, and hopefully they can get it dialed in for October when we go back for the championship. But yeah, no rubber was involved on Saturday night at all.
Well, what makes that really challenging at that track, they just don't use that track that much. So, racetracks where you go in and work it all the time are going to be better racetracks. They
No
just
doubt.
don't work this racetrack often enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. They barely race on it, and I think that was almost only the second 410 race they've had there since like 2004 too. So they don't see sprint cars too terribly often there. And I was talking to a couple of guys that had actually ran that Power Eye race the weekend before, and they said it had a lot of big rocks in it and things like that, and they were, some guys were getting holes punched in their wings, and a couple guys had bruises on their arms from rocks and stuff like that. But so it's definitely a challenge when you don't race there a whole lot on tracks like that, so they don't have a super huge notebook to try and work on it. But I did see and I did hear that Kenny Brown with Power Eye was the guy that was kind of spearheading the track prep over there. So hopefully he's back for when we come back in October and take some notes from this last race and make it a little bit better.
Yeah, now that Devil's Bowl is gone, we really need the Texas Motor Speedway dirt track to host more sprint car events, and I think that's probably what's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, I would think so. I talked to quite a few fans yesterday at RPM that were saying, oh man, I went to Devil's Bowl for 20, 30 years, and unfortunately it's gone. But now they're trying to find different tracks to go to. Now the Devil's Bowl is not there anymore. So it's obviously it's a tough deal to lose that track. But now these other tracks around the Texas area, you got to try and pick up the pace and fill that void.
The 18-year-old Corey Day picks up the win at RPM Speedway in Crandall, Texas. This kid has got uber amount of talent, doesn't he?
Yeah, he sure does. He got close to the win. I think the second race at East Bay, and then ever since then he was kind of, he wasn't really challenging for wins. He wasn't too good at Gold Miles. I don't think he finished in the top 10 there. And then at Texas, I think he was back half of the top 10. And then, last night he started fourth, and I feel like he fell back a couple spots there at the beginning of the race, maybe back to sixth or seventh, and then charged back through the field to score an exciting win. Kerry hit that rut and washed up the track, and Corey, I don't think he lifted. He might have actually pressed the gas farther down when he saw that happen and bounced off the wall and was able to drive around him. So he's super exciting. I would almost equate him maybe to the Sheldon Sheldon's equivalent of with the Outlaws, the high limit. He's just that much of an exciting driver. So, and he seems to be, a fan favorite too. So, it was cool to see Corey Day knock one out, and I'm sure that's the first of many we'll see here in 2024.
Chase, I think that was one of the most impressive drives I've seen all year, maybe in a couple of years, what Corey Day did on a racetrack that was hard to pass. It was a great racetrack last night, but it was hard to make the moves that Corey was able to make to win that race. I was very impressed with that run last night. Your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it was really cool to see. He could really put his car anywhere. He was obviously made the pass on the top, but if he needed to pass something on the bottom, he was able to make it happen. And then he even had kind of a turn down line going as well, especially in 3 and 4. He'd run the top and able to diamond it off the corner and get by a couple of guys. That's how he got by Brad Sweet. I think that's how he got by Zeb Wise too. So whatever Shane Bowers did to that thing, I mean, it was able to go anywhere on the racetrack and make passes. So, Corey Day, Shane Bowers, Jason Myers, they got a pretty good deal going on right now, and excited to see what they'll do coming up to some of these other racetracks. And the thing is for him, all these tracks that we're going to over the next couple of weeks, I mean, almost every track this week or this year, besides the ones in California and whatnot, he's never been to any of them, and first time to RPM, and he's able to get the win. Very interested to see what he does when he goes to Red Dirt here tomorrow night. So Corey Day, very exciting driver, and read all the comments on Facebook and Twitter and everything, and everybody seems to think that he's the next big deal, and I would certainly agree with that, man. He's got a lot of talent, that's for sure.
Tyler Courtney has an 18-point lead over Brad Sweet and 37 points lead over Brent Marks, and Corey Day is currently fourth in the points. He's 43 points back, and Anthony Macri is 52 points back. How do you see this shaking out for the championship?
Well, I put out a video earlier this year, and I said that I had Rico winning the championship, and so far that's not looking too good. But, Brad's going to be right there. I know he hasn't won a race yet, but he's been in the top 10 every race, and obviously we know what he can do as far as consistency goes. And just it's going to be interesting between him and Sunshine. And then I think if Corey can keep up this speed, and Brent's obviously consistent as well, it could be 4 guys here really going at it and separating themselves out for the battle for the championship. As far as the 5th place spot goes, though, I'm not really sure. We're obviously you got to talk about the top 5 with the charter system and things like that. And Jacob Allen has been very, very impressive. And there's been some guys that are struggling, and he's been able to take advantage of that, like Peck and Rico's been struggling a little bit here recently. So Jacob has been a very pleasant surprise to start the year. I think that's 3 or 4 4th place or better finishes here in the last couple of races for him. So and he's led some laps and obviously gotten a win. So. It's been cool to see Jacob be doing good and be up there very close to the top 5 of the points, if not in the top 5. He is 5th. Okay, yeah, so 5th in points right now. So
right.
I think the battle for the championship is going to be very exciting. And a lot of people going into the year, I mean, even myself thought that maybe it'd be Rico and Brad really separating themselves from everybody else, but that is definitely not the case right now.
Rico got upside down this weekend. That was a tough break for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he got upside down, but he from when he wrecked, I want to say he was in 16th. I mean, he wasn't really making any moves. He wasn't getting up through the field on a track that you would think that would be right up his alley, and it just seemed like he struggled a lot yesterday at RPM. So hopefully they can get back together and get things going here tomorrow night at Meeker. But Rico's definitely been on the struggle bus here. I don't even think he's been on the podium for a race this year with High Limit yet. Obviously, he's gotten a couple outlaw wins, he's been fast with the Outlaws, but when it comes to High Limit, it just doesn't seem like things are clicking very well right now for him. So, which is surprising because, like I said earlier, I thought he was going to be the one to challenge Brad for this championship this year.
Brad Sweet hadn't won a race yet, but he's run fast. He's running up towards the front, just hadn't quite picked it off yet.
Yeah, he just hasn't put together the whole night yet. Brad, he's been really good early in the night, been good in qualifying. I think he's got 3 or 4 fast times. He's been, in the dash a couple times, been able to win some heat races and whatnot, but just in the feature, he just doesn't quite have enough. But he's got enough to be top 5, be top 10 every night. It's just doesn't have enough to get the win. He's challenged for a few wins. I guess last night he didn't really challenge for the win. He was kind of right there, 3rd, 4th the whole race. But, thinking back to the first or maybe it was the 2nd race at East Bay, he was right there battling for the victory. But really that's the only time this year that he's been able to challenge for a win. So, but we already know what he can do, man. We know he's going to be having an average finish of 4th, 5th, or 6th or something throughout the whole year. So, but yeah, it's been surprising to see him and Rico both not get a win. And going into the year, all you could read on Facebook and everything was how it's going to be a Rico and Brad show, and they're going to win every race, and it's going to be boring, and High Limit's just going to be those 2 guys winning everything, and that has just not happened at all this year.
The big thing I was looking at this weekend is when the World of Outlaws and High Limit were running up against each other was car count. That certainly was not a problem this weekend. You had great car count at Texas Motor Speedway and 30 cars last night at RPM. So both series had pretty healthy car counts for the first weekend. That's a good sign to me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that was one of the big talking points going into the weekend. It was the first time that the 2 series have, raced against each other, or whatever you want to say. Obviously, they were pretty far away in a different region of the country, but, still, I think they had 41 cars the first night over there and 37 the next, and then we had, 37, which was really good to see at Texas Motor Speedway, and then 30 last night. We would have had more. We had a couple guys that got into incidents at Texas, but still a good field, a quality field that was really fun to watch on the track. So, everybody, I keep going back to Facebook and Twitter, but it seems like everybody wants to, talk smack about, High Limit Racing and how they're ruining everything and this and that. But, you see the car counts for both series this weekend, and you could tell that there's enough cars to go around. And then I seen last night there's 42 410s at BAF, so that was cool to see. There's a lot of sprint cars to go around. There's a lot of cars at Attica the other night. So I think sprint car racing's in a pretty darn good place right now, and it showed last night, or this weekend, I should say, with the 2 big series that were having 2 really strong car counts.
That is Chase Rodman. And Scott, if you look at the car counts last night, we had 24 at the high limit race at Southern Oklahoma and 29 at Paducah for the World of Outlaws. So I think these car counts are going to fluctuate quite a bit. Of course, you know there are going to be a large number of cars at Knoxville next week.
Yep, no doubt.
So I just think we're going to see some good, some bad. But as I said earlier, you need to have, you certainly got to have over 20 cars at these races, but I think 25 to 30 minimum is, or the fans are really going to start squawking.
No, I agree with you, Kirk, 100%.
And as we talked about towards the end, that interview was Monday, and he said Brad Sweet still had not won a win at that time. Well, he does have a win now.
Right.
Last night at Southern Oklahoma Speedway, and it was only a matter of time before Brad Sweet broke through in victory circle. And we'll see what happens tonight down at Salina High Banks. And that is going to be a very interesting race. Maybe even more so than the World of Outlaws at Hobstadt tonight. I don't know. Hobstadt is always a question mark of who can do well at that racetrack. Donnie Schatz mentioned, that's a track he's never won at. Brady Bacon won there last year. But for me, I'm a little bit more interested to see what happens at Salina High Banks tonight. See if Rico Abreu can finally break through and get a good finish.
I don't think Rico's going to end up winning at Salina High Banks tonight.
Who is going to be the winner tonight at Salina?
It's either going to be David Gravel or Donnie Schatz.
And you mentioned Buddy Kofoid earlier. You thought maybe he was poised to do
I
something.
think Buddy's got a good shot at winning as well.
He's gotten some top finishes, and Buddy has been pretty aggressive out there. We'll see. That's the other... we'll see how he does at the Hobstadt Tri-State Speedway tonight. That's where Buddy Kofoid's going to be running. So James McFadden driving the other Roth Motorsports car. He's at the high limit race at Salina High Banks tonight. So that and the Shark Racing team split up, going two different directions. Jacob Allen, who had gotten some great runs with the High Limit Series for Shark Racing. And he has really found his groove in the High Limit Series this year after sitting out for a time last year, taking a break from racing. And, he's mostly good finishes for Jacob Allen in the High Limit Series, except for maybe the last couple of nights. And of course, Logan Schuart's struggling with the World of Outlaws right now. It didn't seem like Logan Schuart has found his groove with that team yet. So it's interesting with these teams going separate directions, Roth and Shark Racing, just how things are going to shake out as we get into the meat of the season.
Tyler Courtney has a 28-point lead over Brad Sweet, 47 points over Corey Day, and 48 points over Brent Marks.
And we thought maybe Jacob Allen would have a chance of being a factor last night. Jacob
Allen is 105 points back.
Yeah. Last night, Jacob not as good a run, 15th. It was where he started, ended up 13th.
Rico is 116 points behind.
Yeah. Rico, and we thought he was going to be Brad Sweet's main challenger.
Right.
Going into the season. But they just haven't been able to catch their groove yet.
Yep, no doubt.
With the 24 car.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in to Track Talk here today on RBN, the Racing Boys Broadcasting Network, and Sports Radio 810 WHB. It's all been brought to you by Rod End Supply, featuring the POWRi Midwest Lightning Sprints. For Todd Surprise, for Kirk Elliott, I'm Scott Traylor saying thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week right here on Track Talk.
Go harder, faster, stronger with Rod End Supply. Whether you are running industrial, farming equipment, or a race car, Rod End Supply has the assortment of rod ends, radius rods, and specialty products that will help you lead the field in performance. Our superior design means our rod ends last longer and perform better, giving you the edge on the track and saving you money. Contact Rod End Supply or order online today at rodendsupply.com. We don't just sell them, we race them. rodendsupply.com. Serving the racing community for over 30 years.